And we are here in Baltimore at the Baltimore Whitman Expo. We are joined by a very special guest, John Feigenbaum. John is the. Why don't you describe the
So what do
title
you
for us,
do?
John? What do you do?
You know, I gave myself the title of CEO because it just sounded important, and no one else was going to give it to me if I didn't ask for it. So
It's
I
a good
just
title to
did
have.
it. But basically, I have just cobbled together the companies of the Gray Sheet and the Whitman Publishing, and we now have a company we call Whitman Brands,
Okay.
which also has Whitman Expo under our umbrella,
Which is where we are now.
and where we are today. So I find myself as the sort of manager of overarching manager of the company that has this coin show, and it's pretty crazy because all of this is from me, who's a kid in the business since the age of 5, to now own a coin show that I've actually been attending for over 30 years, I'd say. It's
And
existed.
no small coin show.
Right.
One of the
I mean,
majors.
I am the dog that caught the ice cream truck.
I like that.
Sure.
I like that. And this show is a little bit different than a lot of the other shows for our standpoint because you guys are so gracious to give us the access that we have to this show and to this area and this space. It's different, and I think that's what was really refreshing to me, at least, is the fact that you guys are willing to look at stuff like that, where some of the other shows, and I'm not going to mention any of them by name, of course, but some of the other shows out around they just seem stuck in their ways. They just want people to come and do coins, and that's it. They don't care to do anything else, any other outreach or.
Well, some of that comes from the fact that coins are typically an older man's hobby,
Well, sure.
and older people. I can speak for us.
Well, yeah, you're old.
We're a little resistant to change, So it's good that you and I thought a long time ago about bringing the next generation,
Right.
because we've got to promote this hobby for future.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's coming together here.
I think so.
And I'm in the older. I consider myself older, and most of the things that happen today online with influencers and things like that are so new even to me. And it's like I don't have the energy. I'm still mostly a dinosaur coin collector or something like that. But we definitely recognize that there's a huge need to bring numismatics as a hobby into the 21st century, because we really, a lot of what I see myself doing as running this company and having a great team, and it's just a team effort, is we're just trying to keep numismatics relevant, and that's what you guys are doing. And I recognize, without knowing and studying your podcast or anything, that I just recognize how vital you are, right? And that's great because I can't do everything. You can't do everything. And so we're really focused, and we'll talk some about this red book that we're working on right now. But you can't be focused on the red book, and I am personally, my main job is really every day is pricing coins. I'm the guy mostly doing U.S. coin pricing on the Gray Sheet, and I have like 4 full-time jobs, and social media really isn't one of.
Do you have somebody to answer the angry emails from the Gray Sheet people?
The
coin dealers.
That is the number one question I get asked from people. Even fellow dealers will say, "I know you're getting all that," but really, we get very few angry emails, and I'll tell you why. It's because when I get one, I answer.
Yeah.
What makes people angry is when you don't answer.
Yeah.
So if they feel they're not being listened to.
Right. If you say, "Hey, how come the 1856 Flying Eagle went down by $500 this month or something," and you don't answer it,
right,
then you piss people off.
But if you answer it and point to the auction where it sold at that range,
or if I say, well, I made a mistake, we made a mistake, we fixed it, and I do fix things a lot, and we always have some basis for why we changed the number, or at least we try to figure out why that would have happened. And it could be anything from statehood quarter rolls, or 56 Flying Eagles, or Gilbrecht dollars, or whatever the heck we're talking about. I try not to do anything that makes no sense, right? So usually there's an auction record, or usually there's a bid that happens somewhere. Somebody said, "Hey, I'm buying 2024 gold, 230th anniversary dollars," or whatever we're calling this today.
Yeah, that's a good question. What
I think the gold ones are dollars and the silver ones are metals. Just say
well, you just said something that I think is refreshing, and it's something that's becoming more prevalent where it was non-existent before, and that was what? Admitting that we make mistakes. It is something that has been absolutely absent for so long. It's like, I told you this is what it is. No, it's like, it isn't the worst thing in the world. You know what? I don't know.
I find, I think it's a societal issue. I don't think it's a numismatic issue. But I mean, I find personally to own something as a mistake is rather disarming, right? I mean,
Right.
it's like as soon as I say I made a mistake, it's hard for you to keep yelling at me. And if you do, at this point now, that's on you.
Yeah.
I was teaching my son, the 13-year-old son who's running around here like a banshee buying and
Right.
selling coins. I was teaching him that last night
Right.
about making mistakes, owning mistakes.
Owning it, just own it.
Just own it. It speaks to your integrity that you own it, but it
right.
also speaks to the fact that you're willing to accept your faults.
That's right, and it disarms the argument. So it's
Yeah.
actually it's a good philosophical thing to do. But anyway, I find that I sleep better at night when I don't have the baggage of being defensive or anything
Sure.
like that.
So the gray sheet obviously has been the dealer price guide that everybody's used for years, and now with this new merger from Whitman Brands and CDN, you I think that how is that kind of reflecting in say the next Red Book? Like how is the pricing? Are you using some of the same
Thank you
structures?
for asking this question.
Are you using some of the same structures that you're using from CDN into the new Red Book? Is that happening?
Absolutely. So one of the dream, like a lot of my life, I told you was like the dog catching the ice cream truck.
Sure.
And it's a sort of situation where it's like I'm always was like, man, if I only had control of the gray sheet, I could do such and such. And believe me, I come from a time when I would email, Shane Downey at the gray sheet saying, the prices are too low and something, and it would just be crickets. Nothing would ever change, and it's so frustrating. And my dad and I would, really struggled because we would pay more for a coin and they wouldn't reflect it. So when we got the gray sheet, I swore this was going to be different, right? And I'm always receptive, and I'm always on the floor. Any major show that
Yes.
I go to, A&A, Fun, Central States, Baltimore, you see me, and you say, I want to talk about three-legged buffaloes, we're going to fix them on the spot. Nothing like that ever happened in the history of numismatics before, whether it was Coin World's Trends or any, PCGS's price guide. It's like, who knows what goes on in that black box?
Right.
But we are not a black box. We're fully transparent. So that's number one. So we come along and we're like, oh, this Red Book. Well, what is it? Well, I've been reading and memorizing the Red Book since I was 5 years old. And so one thing I can tell you is we all universally in this room thought that the prices don't really matter in the Red Book.
Right.
No one is telling you, hey, what's the Red Book price of the three-legged buffalo?
Hopefully, there's nobody buying and selling coins with the Red Book.
Red Book.
Yes.
But that was true until 2025 edition. But with the 26, my dream was if I only owned the Red Book, I could replace the pricing with gray sheet based pricing. The same way we made a retail price guide with the gray sheet called the CPG Coin and Currency Market Review. It's a magazine we give out at every show.
Sure.
It's like a retail price
Sure.
guide for coins, 100% based on gray sheet pricing with some multiplier. And the Red Book is now based on those same numbers.
Oh, okay.
So when you buy a Red Book now, you're going to get the 2026 Red Book. My team and I, because it's our first year, we basically gutted the internal structure, the pricing structures.
Yeah, because it used to be that you could buy a Red Book once every 5 years, and it
20
would,
years.
yeah,
20 years.
and it would
Right.
still be somewhat accurate.
Right, except for
Well,
the
it'd be
mintage.
just as accurate as the next one.
Well, that's right.
That's right. And the most relevant thing was maybe statehood quarters or whatever
New
the
issue
mint
stuff.
is coming out.
Sure.
But right, nothing would change, and mistakes would stay forever. I mean, and I'll.
So this begs the question, John. It's like, so if you're looking at a book that's being published a year and a half in advance,
Yeah. Well,
how are you pricing that?
Well, we're pricing today, right? We're saying in the Red Book, look, the date line, was November 1st or whatever that we had, 24, and this is going to be the 26th Red Book. So yes, you're way out of date.
Okay.
So good. This is very self-fulfilling for me because I need this lead anyway. But it's also self-fulfilling because at graysheet.com we update the prices every hour.
Right.
So what we really want you to do is buy a Red Book or get a Red Book and then subscribe to our graysheet.com pricing so that you can find out exactly what that coin is worth in March of 26, where we're a year out of date.
And that's a retail public facing kind of
That's right.
augmentation, or not augmentation, but like a retail public facing addition to the Red Book.
Is
that Graysheet?
Well, it's the graysheet.com is really originally the augmentation of Graysheet wholesale pricing.
Sure.
And then what we did was we added retail, and then we have subscribing plans from $10 a month all the way up to like $200 a month, or
Sure.
if you're a dealer and you want to be on CDN Exchange. So we have all the gamut now, from collectors to dealers and so on.
Because I think that, and maybe this is something that a lot of people don't understand, is that I feel like when I think of Graysheet, I think, oh, that's just a dealer facing public thing, and I think this is something that it's interesting to push out there because
Absolutely.
that
Well,
it is
and more, I think sometimes what it's doing is this is creating different levels.
correct.
So it's like it will more fit with people and their different access or different interests in the hobby. If there's only an entry level interest, maybe the red book is what you need.
That's right.
If there's a bit more, then they subscribe to Gray Sheet.
And then the fact that you said those numbers are updated every hour.
Every hour. So what
Okay.
happens is, and I think we have about 1,000,001 prices on the website right now.
Okay.
1.1 million prices, and about, I would say, 600,000, maybe 700,000 are automatically generated based on formulas that are tied to bullion.
Okay.
So gold goes down $50 like it did yesterday and the day before. It's a big change. I mean, gold can swing. We know it can
Sure.
swing. So how do you manage that? Well, in the past, nobody managed that. Every pricing is way out of date. You look at an 1877 S20 in XF, which is really a bullion tied coin, but instead you're getting, you're going to get a month-old prices when gold was $200 higher.
Yeah.
So we change it constantly. You should never really rely on pricing in any printed guide.
Correct.
So we make an app. We are trying to be the pricing and information ecosystem of the numismatic hobby, which means not just pricing, but like data, like in other words, who designed a coin, what its diameter, what its gold content, or if we have the entire banknote book, which is the entire catalog of world banknotes is on our website. That's an incredible asset.
I didn't know that.
It's like something like $99.95 a year to access it. You can't print it. We're going to actually try to print it, but when we do print it, it'll be like the old Krause books.
Oh,
it'll be
yeah.
like 4 or 5.
Yeah, wow.
And it'll change every year because there's coins
Sure.
coming out. I mean, banknotes come out every minute. So we are the only company that I know of that's really addressing this as an ecosystem. And we think it's important.
Going to put the date in the book. Is it going to be like on the title page or posted title page?
Yeah, like
will it have a basis maybe for silver platinum?
exactly. That is on the copyright page of the book, and that actually has been on the copyright page of the Red Book. But like I said, it didn't matter anyway because mostly the pricing wasn't something that the industry trusted.
Right.
So wouldn't matter. Somebody
We
says,
looked
well,
at it as irrelevant.
that's right. And you can, and the Red Book has always been wonderful for determining what the key dates in the series are, what the miniatures are, like the 1920s.
Anything you want to know about a coin, it's in that book.
It's kind of in there, right? That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, if you want to go deeper than on piece dollars, then you buy the book on piece dollars. But the Red Book is going to tell you in about 2 seconds. But we have done so much more to add to this year's Red Book. Not only have we gutted the prices and replaced it with Gray Sheet pricing, Gray Sheet related pricing,
Sure.
or we call CPG, Collector's
Sure.
Price Guide. But we have added our catalog number because the world, there's so many different coins and so many varieties. We have over 100,000 coins now in our catalog index.
Okay.
In paper money, you have to use a number. So number 12734 could be an 1877 penny in brown or something like
Sure.
that, right? It's just a random number for that item.
But it's for database purposes, it makes it a lot easier.
That's right. And for speed and efficiency purposes, how do you make this work for you when you're searching online? If you have a Red Book, it's going to, now that number is on the page.
So then you just type it in and
That's
bingo
right.
bango
Just
boom.
like having our number for.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have Google style searching and things like that too. But that's all of that is tricky. It's all very expensive and challenging. So that's what we're working on. But we're adding the catalog number. The book is going to be 6 by 9. It's not going to be 5.5 by 8.5. It's always been 5.5 by 8.5. So we're doing some radical things right off the bat. And I know some people are going to freak out because, all my Red Books look great on the shelf next to each other, and now you've got one that's half an inch bigger.
Rip off the paint.
I mean, what can I do? Should I live with the VHS, or a Betamax, or should I just? Should we just start
Laserdisc,
streaming?
man.
Should we just start streaming?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where. So we went straight to like 6. We need 6 by 9. We don't want more pricing columns. We're separating proofs. We have more proof grades. We had several chapters that made very little sense. Gilbrecht Dollars was like something that Jeff Garrett. I can't talk about this book without giving Jeff a real nod because he's been amazing to work with, and so he and I are sort of a team, and I'll be like, Jeff, I can't make sense of Gilbrecht Dollars. They don't make sense. They're in the book and they say business strikes and proof strikes or restrikes, and I'm like, there's no such thing as a business strike Gilbrecht Dollar, right? He's like, of course, yeah, we got to fix that. So we talked to JD, we talked to any of the industry experts that we can talk to and say, let's make this modern and let's not live in a world where we have to have 5 years of delegation to figure out whether we're going to. Another coin we added that was somewhat controversial is a high relief 20 in proof. Now, nobody really knows that there were proofs, but we all know, we talked to John Albanese about this, and we said, we all know that there's some different kind of a high relief.
Finish
NGC
change.
calls them proof, or they call them, or
Well,
some
yeah,
kind of
it's
specimen
what do you
strike.
want to call it?
But not right. So we come up with a new determination. We're going to be very flexible. It's not going to be like you got to write the Pope to get something listed in the Red Book. If it makes sense, we're going to add it.
Well, I love that because I know that me personally, you think about the Red Book again, like I said earlier, it's just kind of stale once every 5 years, and it doesn't change much for you. But
Right.
the cool thing, and I think something that I want to show off while you're here, is we have kind of a sneak peek as to what the new Red Book may look like. Do you want to talk about some of
Real
this?
quick,
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
just have one question about
Little
something that's off of the Red Book, the Mega Red. What is the plan going forward for Mega Red?
You put me on the spot on that one.
Ooh.
So Mega Red, when I took over, I was told, oh, by the way, there's this thing Mega Red, because I actually don't know the Mega Red the way other people might know it. Like
Sure.
To me, it was not something I used. It was heavy. But
Yes.
I know, and it's beautiful, and it's larger, and it's got 1,500 pages.
Well, we can talk because I actually have an idea for it.
Oh, good. I would love to hear it. But here's where I've come to. So what I learned was that the Mega Red is a much richer version of the Red Book in terms of like
It goes in
descriptive.
depth into one section.
That's right. They've done some really great research and scholarship, let's say, on those seated dimes or whatever. But the thing about the Mega Red that I don't like, on my diagnosis was, well, first thing is I paused. I didn't release the 10th edition. Now, we don't have years on the book, so I was like,
Right.
I don't have to have one every year. I can just say the 10th edition. So the 10th edition is coming. We don't have a scheduled date this moment, but my whole thing is when I started really looking at the Mega Red, what I realized was a lot of it are like colorful bars and this and that, like whiz bang,
bells and whistles.
Right, it's really pricing that wasn't really any better or worse than the other Red Book. But the other thing is they always had a line on every coin with an auction record. But when you look at those lines, I don't know if you've looked at them lately, what you'll see is they mostly say 2008.
Yeah.
And I am not happy with that.
No, the data is.
So it's too hard. I mean, look, we have a company to run. You have we can't make everything from scratch all the time.
Well, you already have one thing that's doing live pricing. I mean,
That's right. So look, Mega Red's role of showing auction data makes almost no sense in a world where 20 coins have been auctioned. Why just show one?
Right.
How do you pick the one? And what human being can do such a thing?
And one auction record can completely change everything.
And what does it mean? Right. It could be what I've already determined was an outlier. It could be a first generation NGC black holder, black core thing that's worth, it's a $30 coin that's sold for $3,000.
Yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't make any sense.
Or it could be that the market's actually moving and moving in a new direction. Or
who knows?
Well, that's his job to figure out.
Yeah.
So what my thing is Mega Red is we'll definitely come out with another Mega Red, and we will definitely probably eliminate all that auction data. And I would love to know what you think we should do. Otherwise, what else should we do?
Well, I'll talk to your brother. I actually have, I think, a pretty decent.
Oh, good.
Oh boy.
No.
So,
Maybe.
We'll talk. We're looking for people. We're looking for people. We have a cherry picker. Book series that I want to completely rethink. It's in 3 editions now, but I think it should just be in 1. And if I had my dream come true, it would be 1 annual edition. Every year there'd be a new cherry picker, but that's a lot of work.
It is.
Somebody has to own that. And I don't know yet who can own
Somebody
that.
has to eat, sleep, and breathe that particular book.
And the way that they've divided it in the past, maybe that's not the way you want to divide it going forward. Maybe it's more relevant to do it with older stuff than more recent stuff, let as you go forward more modern.
Well,
I've heard a lot of feedback about people saying, why this coin and not this coin, and I did the pricing at the last minute. I came along just close enough to do pricing for the Cherry Picker 3 that was just released, and I was personally really surprised by some of the picks in the book, and that's the truth. So this is me owning what I think is a mistake. It's like, how is this coin in the book? And there's the doubling is almost non-perceptible.
Yeah.
And there's other coins that we know that are not in the book, and they're hugely perceptible. And so, how do we do this? This is not the easiest question to answer, but how do you do this in this industry to get to a consensus? And I think the grading services really should be at the forefront of that conversation. They get the varieties. There's variety guys who have podcasts and things like that that are really into it, and they're not.
Live point Q&A.
They were not.
Really big on
They were not given a seat at the table, and so we got to make sure those constituents get a seat at the table, as opposed to like three guys in a room just saying, hey, let's just throw that one in the bucket. And
Well, the
so
input is a really good thing, and it makes us in the hobby feel connected, more invested, and because we're more invested, I think we have more to gain.
yeah.
So why don't you show us what you've worked out with the?
So so the new Red Book. Thank you for teeing that up.
Sorry, I interrupted it before.
No, it's fine.
I
It's no big deal.
Like I said, we'll just fly around. But no, thank you. So what happens is we are meeting. It's November 24, and we are sitting here, believe it or not, at the deadline of the 26 Red Book, because it takes a long time to get printed and shipped and prepared. It has to be ready for mass market. That's a whole different world. I'm learning. Like you have to have the cover done way ahead of time. So that you can get it to Amazon and things like that. And I don't know if people realize, but we sell over 200,000 Red Books a year. It is the #1 book sold in the world for numismatics by such a factor you can't imagine. That the #2 book is the Blue Book, which is around 50,000, and that's another podcast. But help me figure that one out. And then, but it sells 40 to 50,000 copies. This Blue Book, and then in third place. Somebody tell me what third place is, but I bet you it's $5,000.
And
I don't know what it is.
I bet you it's Cherry Pickers.
It could be Cherry Pickers. I mean, and I don't know if there's. I'm trying to think of another publication anywhere, in Germany or somewhere, but I don't know of anything that sells the Spink catalog, which is a good one.
Yeah.
They sell like 3,000 or 4,000. That's it. I talked to them. I think it's a beautiful book. Love the Spink catalog, but they don't
You have to have one.
You have to have one, but you don't have to have one every year.
Right.
Although they have new ownership, and I think the new owners are going to put a lot more effort into updating it, and I wish them luck with that. So, anyway, so we are working on, as we talked. I told you guys, I said, I have a really good thing that no one has ever seen, which are the prototype covers for the new 26 Red Book.
Oh, so you see it here first?
This is a first.
No one has seen this. I didn't see this until yesterday.
Wow.
I mean, I saw screenshots or something, but basically, we're going to a 6x9 format, larger format. And I told the guys, I said, I don't want to look at the same Red Book cover every year. I don't, I don't know if my gray sheets are always different.
Sure.
I mean, and they're not gray.
And they're fun. They're great.
They're fun, right?
They're cool.
We don't care. Some of them fall flat. Some of them are amazing, and that's the greatness of it. It's like, it's just,
But that's how you know you're on the edge.
We don't overthink it.
That's how you know you're on the edge.
We just do our best, and Sam, who's our graphic designer with the gray sheets, just fabulous and has fun with it, and we just want her to have fun. We love it. So in this case, we told our graphic designer, Matt Jeffers, he said, dude, go to town with the new Red Book. He's been dreaming for 10 years. The old regime didn't like change. And we said, what is your dream of the new Red Book cover? So he prototyped this one, and it's actually not so much prototype anymore. This is the real soft cover of, I don't know, where do I do this?
That's fine, yeah.
That's the soft, this will be the cover of the new 26 Red Book. Now, I don't have an old Red Book in front of us to show you, but it is radically different, right?
This takes everything that
it'll fold, so you're looking at something.
Sure.
Dave
there we
is
go.
very prominent with this.
That's right, because one thing that I learned is we've been working on the metrics with Amazon and eBay and online sales, and guess what? Your book has to look good as a picture.
Right.
If you don't have the year huge, the year isn't huge. People
It's
don't
the
know
same
it's different.
book.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, next year's book ain't going to look like this book, right? It'll be different because I want you to buy it. Maybe it'll be purple. I don't know what color.
I think that I might not go with purple.
Red book. But it'll purple book. We're in the gray book. Somebody often said we should do a gray book.
Not a terrible idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, it'll probably be red to some degree. I think that we have to stick with that. But you can see this isn't cherry red.
Right.
It is red.
It is.
It is the red book. And then the hardcover version is going to be, instead of, I should have brought a sample of the existing one. It's really just a bunch of block lettering. And it's not great. That block lettering in old 1980s type on a hardcover book looks like kind of like a bad yearbook, I think. And so we in effect have done similar things with the cover, but we've embossed it. So it's like, this is a great book. Now remember, this is a book you want, if you're a coin dealer, and a shop owner, you want people to come and go, oh, that is cool.
Yep.
I don't want to. How do you sell a 26 if it's say 25? Hey, whatever. I'll say the 25 for half price.
Right. Well, for about how many years? 25 years, they looked exactly the
same. And so we believe, like in this dynamism that we're talking about it on podcasts to get the word out. But I am super excited about and I have a whole stack of variants of this thing, but this was the best one. What I showed you guys was the best variant, and we're really excited about.
I really like the fact that you have gone to your annual books, or they're not annual, but to your repetitive books, the 100 greatest, and things like that. And you change all the covers off.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
this one reminds me as a dealer of when the gray sheets went away from being the gray sheet, when you just got a tri-folded gray piece of paper that had numbers on it,
magazine.
to the magazine where they started having a
Well-
new cover, and that's what this reminds me
And that
of.
was born. That decision was born out of necessity, and actually, believe it or not, simplicity. So the simplicity was it was so challenging to make every week another gray sheet. Number one, you can never rest. Like, you need time to rest. Your team is small. It's like, we have a small team. We can't make every time you sent the gray sheet to the printer, like a day later, you're like, okay, I got to work on the next bit. I got to make sure there's some changes, right? I can't keep sending Morgan dollars.
Constantly reinventing the wheel. It's not exactly.
It's no fun. It's like you can't even take a vacation. You can't breathe. So number one, I didn't want to keep doing the same thing. And also, every dealer had to, which quarterly one jumps in this week. So
Oh,
then your
that was the
notebook
worst.
and do all this crap. So and my poor team, like led by Billy and selling subscriptions, and it's like, holy, how do you? I listened to him on the phone talking to a guy. Well, tell me about how do you get new dealers? We all know we were old dealers. Old dealers knew the gray sheet came in this arcane way with 3 different quarterlies, 4 times a year. Figure that out.
Where do I look up the
Monthly. Where do well, 2-cent-piece proofs are only a quarterly too.
And if you missed a quarterly, then you were.
It was
Right.
so
If you missed a quarterly, you were screwed.
Yeah.
And here I was building this database with way more pricing. Like we now have Pioneer, we have Cal Gold, we've got
Lincoln,
Colonials,
large sense by variety.
I mean anything, Hawaii, anything. And that's why, of course, it's also spilling over to the Red Book. But so I said, it'll be so much easier if we put this in a single monthly. And, this is such a great business idea, but I'm like, hey, we charge about $200 a year for a subscription to the Gray Sheet. We send you literally 150 different publications a year in the old format. Like every week you're getting an envelope with something. I'm like, we could just sell 12 magazines for the same price.
Yeah.
It really...
They see it as a better value.
It's a better value because it's 125 pages. It's in full color. It's way more pricey.
They hold up better when you're beating the heck out of them at the shows.
The leaves don't fall apart.
Right. But do you remember for 3 months I put it on newsprint?
I remember that.
That was my favorite. I mean, that was really great. For 3 months we tried on newsprint, and it was like 2018.
And they just shredded.
I thought it was going to be great because I was like, I'm an old computer guy. There used to be this thing called, what was this old computer magazine? It's a really big format. It's 120 pages. And, you could see all the computer ads back in the old Commodore days and all that. It was like CompuWeek, I don't know, whatever it was. It was some... Sure. I loved it. I was like, this would be great for coin. The problem was, every month, by the first week, coin dealers are shredding the pages.
Yes.
You have newsprint all over your hands.
They have to be hardy.
I was definitely getting some negative feedback on that one.
Well, and it's funny because you walk around the shows and you'll see coin dealers that have a gray sheet rolled up, sticking out of their back pocket.
You weren't putting that one in your back pocket.
No, not at all.
No,
and
so that was a bad idea. So we but we experimented. We just, I think as Win Calendar, who used to work for me at David Lawrence days, he's now at Heritage Auction Coordinator, consignment coordinator. But Win is a great guy. But it was like, John, he goes, I love DLRC because at DLRC we got it's like fire, aim, shoot, fire, aim, or something like that. Whatever it was, whatever the expression was. It's like, shoot first, and then we'll aim it later, and maybe we'll hit something. And so really, that's always been. I'm not a huge planner. I'm just more of I just like to execute. I have no patience.
Well, that's okay. And sometimes,
no patience.
That's how things work. That's how I do things in my office too. Sometimes it's just I want this done. I want it done now.
Creative things happen.
We'll figure it out later. Yep.
And sometimes from just random conversations, right? That's the best part about coming to a show like this, where I just walk around and chat with people, and somebody's like, how about the fact that you all haven't done a book on railroad tokens? Really? I've got a manuscript right here. Okay, good. Let's do it.
I can't describe, and this is one of the hardest things to describe about coming to these shows, is the networking and the new people that you meet and the ability to have certain people come together that have never come together before, and sometimes they just happen to have that spark and something happens. And
and I'll do a shameless plug at that point because I am the executive director, and I think the 80th job that I hold other than dog walking is I am the executive director of the P&G, the Professional Numismatist Guild, which is a wonderful organization. I joined 25 years ago, and it's been around about 50, 60 years, probably 60 years now. And it's the only organization for coin dealers for coin dealers. And the best, I mean, there's a lot of great things about this organization, but the best part is really, I think, networking is how if you're PNG and I'm PNG, we've already crossed a certain threshold of understanding of one another. And that's, because everyone says, well, why should I join the PNG? Why should I pay $1,000 a year for something like that? It's like, because first of all, this is about the longevity of the hobby. So anyway, that's my shameless plug for PNG.
Hey.
I get my now I'll get my paycheck later, so you guys can thank me. It's there's just not enough of it, and I gotta say, if there's anything people ask me like, why do you do all these things? And it's just because I really care. I grew up I grew up in the hobby. 5 years old, my dad took me to all these coin shows in Southern Florida, and we would go and say, "Here, John, here's $1. Go buy the best." The early story was like, "Go buy an Indian penny with the most liberty." And I came back to him an hour later. And it's one of these small rooms with the ring rooms, the coin shows, where you walk around the ring, and you come back and he's like, I'm like, Dad, I got a good coin. Wait, show it to me. I show it to him. It's 1872 Indian cent in XF, and he's like, and it says 60 under with a line up. And it was like, is it $60 or 60 cents? So I went to this couple that were sitting there, and I was going through the old flip albums and 2x2s, and I said, is that 60? My dad's telling me to look for the most liberty. I don't know anything about the dates yet, and is that 60 cents or $60? They talked to each other. It was a Cuban couple, actually, and they go back and forth in Spanish, and I just waited and waited. And she goes, that's 60. The woman said 60 cents. So I gave her my dollar, got my 40 cents back. I go, Dad. He goes, that's awesome. He goes, we can go now. The show. And so I actually sold that coin years later in college for like $40, and paid for a few beers.
That's funny.
But that was my earliest cherry pay.
And that and to kind of breach another subject, as I look around the room, everybody always thinks that these shows are just a bunch of old guys getting together and trading war stories about their coins. But as I look around, there are a lot of younger guys floating around these shows, and it's really to me as a kind of the middle of the road guy. I mean, I'm not an old guy like Mike over there, but I'm also not. I know, but I'm also not a baby either. So I kind of.
No, but your generation is severely lacking. From this, I'm 55, and so Jason Carter, who is now with Stax Bowers, but he's a long time friend. We both kind of got full time around when I graduated college in '90. Is when I became a full-time coin dealer with my dad. Jason Carter is 5 years younger than me, so that means he's like 18 or 17, pimply-faced kid, and wonder star, right? I mean, he was like considered to be a superstar, and there was nobody else around our age, like nobody. Everybody else was either like at that point I'm 21. Everyone else is 26, 27 to 35 or 40, or older in the hobby, and we had nobody follow us. He and I had nobody to hang out with that was our contemporary for about 10 more years. Nobody got into the hobby, and then those guys that were older started having kids, and as they got older, another generation starts seeping in. But it's been a void until now. Recently, I see so many young people, whether they're the kids or they're
like the 24, 25-year-old dealers.
And the COVID kids, right? There's like this whole generation of kids that figured out how to make money during COVID, flipping coins on all these social media sites and things like that.
I've met so many of these kids at summer seminars. And there is a crop of young individuals coming up that are really, really good.
They are.
We need no worry about that.
Well, but they need our help. And then we go back to PNG. There's several organizations, including Witter and Stax Bowers, doing educational things. A&A, of course, seminars is the granddaddy of that. But at PNG, we wanted to address that issue, and we do a kind of a mentoring program called Next Gen. And it's the same thing. It's like it's one thing to be a whiz kid. It's another thing to be able to break coins at the age of 14 and know an XF from a 60 from a 63. But it's another thing to know that if you make a mistake, to admit it. If your check isn't going to clear, to call that guy ahead of time. There's a lot of professionalism that they need, and so we think that the PNG can also help that group because there was nobody to help me. My dad was there to help, but there was nobody there to help a lot of kids. And so Jason and I wander around blind. That's right.
Sometimes they need a lot too.
Well, the ones that need a lot, hopefully they recognize that, and they go work at Heritage or Stax or NGC or CAC or whatever, and get some of that guidance, and then maybe and just like any adult, right? Some people should work for other people, and some people are entrepreneurs.
Yep.
So that's all in the the process of life. But what we're trying to build in this industry, this numismatic industry that's always been like herding cats. Nobody cares about anybody else really. Everybody's in it for themselves kind of attitude of, I'm here to win. We're trying to build a safety net for the younger generation. And, I mean, we could talk for about 400 subjects, but there's such a difference in this industry in 2024 than there was in 1990.
Yeah, the community is so much stronger.
The community is stronger. All you had then was a bunch of independent guys and maybe their wife and their young kid that they're towing around. And what you have now is you have large companies. We didn't have large companies in 1990.
Right.
PCGS was like this new company. NGC was a new company. Heritage was kind of a newish, growing auction company, but they weren't mega. So you had like 5 or 6 different small auction companies. And it's all consolidated to a point. And so we are achieving some like next level of professionalism as an industry.
Yeah.
That needs some fertilizer, because the biggest problem that we all face, number one problem that we all face in this hobby, if you're a hobbyist, if you're a collector listening to this podcast, or you're a dealer, or whatever you are in this hobby, is we need more collectors, and more collectors equals more dealers, or vice versa. And there's really not a big distinction in this business between collectors and dealers. Like a collector my dad was a collector. He's a professor at Old Dominion University, or a student, with a PhD or that. And he always ran out of money, right? As soon as he was filling his bar recorder set, he upgrades his 07S or something, and now he's got to kick the one out because he doesn't have any money. He can't afford to keep them both. So he starts selling them. We would set up at point shows in Hialeah, Florida, or wherever, and we would sell off the extras. And I'm sitting there learning how to have conversations with adults at the age of 8, like, "Hey, sir, that's $2.50. He goes, "Oh, I'll pay you $2." And whatever. I'm like, "No, sir, that's $2.50." These kinds of conversations. I've been through it all, and I learned so much. But there wasn't a lot of structure to our industry then. And what we need today is to grow. Like, you guys are so great because you're helping us grow. You're getting to this audience that watches your podcast, makes it grow, and everything we do, whether it's this show and there's not a lot of shows left, right?
No.
You can't. And we've learned something in the last 6 months, is that shows are very hard to create from thin air. Shows are an anachronism. Right now, everybody's doing business on the internet. Everybody's like, so why go to a point show? Well, you can't buy and sell $200,000 worth of coins in 4 hours if you don't come to a show.
Right.
So we need them. But if you try to create a new one in a new city, and you just try to throw a whole bunch of money in promotion, say, "Oh, we're going to have big speakers, or we're going to do," people don't come.
Yeah.
They don't care. So this is the beauty of Baltimore. It has been, I don't know exactly how long this show has existed, because it goes back to New Pearl and all that.
Yeah.
But it's like 40 some odd years, 50 odd years. It's a habit, and you can't, like the Red Book, you really just can't create another Red Book. It's easier for me to go out and buy the company, but I couldn't create another Red Book.
No, not at all.
And I love these. Right. Well, they're gone. They're double gone. And all these companies are double gone. So, I mean, we're here to hopefully succeed and keep this hobby thriving, because whether all the dealers in the room appreciate what I'm doing and what you're doing, I appreciate what you're doing. And, it's amazing to me that not everybody does, but that's life. It's amazing.
Everybody has. Yeah, well, I was just going to say that everybody has their own flavor that
I don't
that
think
they want.
It's just a lack of awareness about what's important in the biggest picture. It's like, just take care. It's like farming, right? We learned years ago. I don't know anything about farming, but I know that if you you can't do the same crops on the same field year over year. You have to do rotation, right? I remember learning about rotation, and that's what we need to do in this hobby. It's like, think long term. That it's like, it's great. Oh, great, we just screwed over a bunch of customers and overcharged them for coins one time, and I made money. So I have people try to influence me on pricing all the time, and say, "Oh, you have a pricing ingratiate of $1,000. I just sold them for $2,500 or whatever." I'm like, I don't care what you sold it for. What will you pay me for another one?
What's the real number?
I'm not worried about that. I'm like, well, then I'm not reflecting your sell price.
Right.
So the sell price, we want our pricing, going back full circle to the gray sheet, is to reflect what you should be able to sell a coin for. And then retail is somehow based on that. Now, if you want to do something crazy and try and charge way too much, or put it on eBay or Etsy or whatever, put a 43 penny on Etsy for $100,000. I just sold a 43 cent penny on Etsy for $100,000. great.
Cool.
Good for you.
You're a terrible person.
Right, exactly. There's a special place for you
Yes.
in the afterlife.
There's a rule.
That's right, but that's not what we're about.
No.
So,
And look, it's like, thank you for the praise that you keep that up, but we have to throw it right back at you because it's because of Whitman and this show that we're here and we get to do all this stuff. You guys have hooked us up with everything we possibly asked
Our
for,
pleasure.
and it's just been awesome.
It's awesome for us. I mean, we're so lucky to have you, and I know you're doing a bunch of interviews here besides this. So, good luck with all of that, and I can't wait to see them all and do our share to help you promote your channel. And let's keep doing it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Love
Keep
it.
doing it.
Let's make everybody happy.
There you go.
Yes, let's do that. That always works.
Everybody wins.
Making everybody happy. Sure. Ice cream.
Yeah. Ice cream. Well, Mike. Ooh, look at me.
Very
That's
exciting.
that's
Very exciting.
Any parting wisdom? Anything new in the pipe that you're really excited about?
You know, I am exhausted about getting the 26 red books to the printer.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about like all the things that we have in the pipe. I'll tell you one other little thing that we're working on that is very minor, but it's cool. Is we're just coming out with a whole new line of albums soon in the next year that are like the next level up because we all know that the Whitman albums are good, but they're not great. And everybody loves Dance Go, for example, because they're like a more substantial album. And so I challenged my team. I said, I want a next level album. And that's reliable because while Dance Go's great, not reliable in terms of like, can I get one? And for example, there's no albums for Canadian coins, or there's no,
Right.
we can develop collectors by having albums.
just reinventing all the wheels, aren't
Everything.
you?
I mean,
I love it.
I mean,
Well, there's a lot of wheels that need to be run around.
Well, you're not wrong.
that's right.
You're not
and
wrong.
we'll screw up on the way. I mean, we will. We'll make mistakes. We'll keep their own darts. And some of them will land.
Yeah.
And I hope we can, stay in business long enough to see successes.
Yeah,
That's
hit
great.
A couple of really big successes.
We just need a bunch of singles. I mean, I really don't I'm not shooting for home runs. So.
Well, John, thank you so much for hanging
Thanks
out
for
with
joining
us.
us. Yeah.
This
I told you I'll do it anytime.
was a blast.
Yeah.
When
Thanks for having me.
yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Cheers, boys.
Thank you, sir.
Nice meeting you on air.
Yeah.